Welcome back to You Can't Be Serious, a thorough understanding of life with your host, Emmanuel Khan. Today on this You Can't Be Serious podcast, we will be discussing whether or not vaccinations should be mandated at local Radnor High School, and in a larger sense, the nation and the world. Today's special guests are Jeremy Bentham and John Rawls.
Thanks for inviting me here today, Emmanuel. I'm very pleased to be here and hope that my voice brings pleasure to the people listening.
Like Bentham, I'm very excited to have this opportunity to discuss a very heated topic.
Thank you both for coming on the show. I know we don't get along well outside of here, but hopefully we can have an enlightening discussion.
Now, I'm a no-nonsense kind of guy, so let's get right into it. I believe that we should have a strict mandate for vaccines so that the least amount of people will get sick, and thus the most people will be happy. This would in turn...
Hold on, Jeremy. Why would you institute the mandate?
Well, is it not obvious? If we institute a strict mandate to get a vaccine, no one will become sick and utility will therefore be maximized.
But what about those people who can't afford a vaccine, or those that believe they cause autism and other disorders?
Well, actually, the handbook provides special exemptions for those who disagree with vaccines. As read directly from the handbook, exemptions are allowed for medical reasons, religious beliefs, or philosophical, strong moral, or ethical convictions. In other words, if a person thinks vaccines are wrong, they are not required to get them.
Well, that's the most absurd thing I've heard all day. If you allow people to exempt themselves from vaccines, you put the safety of the greater public at risk.
But you have to consider the belief of the individuals here. In my opinion, everyone should have the means to get a vaccine, but still be given the right to choose for themselves whether they should get it or not.
Well, obviously in the perfect world, everyone will be able to afford them.
Let's put in our thinking caps. While money is an important issue to consider, what about the motives spurred by the mandate?
Who cares about the motives? The result is the same regardless.
I have to agree with Bentham on this one.
Would you say that the right action for the wrong reason is just? If I turned the criminal in to keep the public safe, is it any different from turning him in for the money? Or if I got a vaccine to keep others healthy, is it any different from getting one to keep myself safe?
Well, it's true you have a different motive, but the result is the same, so why does it matter? If I turn in a criminal, I'm still protecting the general welfare regardless of my motives.
Consequences are not the absolute, Jeremy. If you get a vaccine to protect the public, even if others don't get it, the action would still shine like a jewel for its own sake as something which has full value in itself.
There you go again, Khan, with that fancy philosopher talk. How do you even know what a just motive is?
If we use pure practical reasoning, we will arrive at a set of common principles that we can use to guide us through life. Through the same pure practical reasoning, I arrived at protecting the public is a just motive. Would you universalize getting vaccinations in order to protect the public?
If it would maximize pleasure over pain, it would therefore maximize utility, so then it would be the obvious choice. A mandate shall be instituted and made more strict, not...
What if students unwillingly get a vaccine because of the mandate, not because he believes it is right?
Well, then he's vaccinated.
Jeremy and Emmanuel, imagine this situation for a minute. The whole world is deciding whether or not there should be a mandate for vaccinations. However, while you are taking your vote, you temporarily know nothing about yourself. You are completely unbiased, and thus the decision will be just. You don't know your gender, beliefs, or religion, meaning you could possibly be part of a minority who believe that vaccines cause autism, or a doctor who has done years of research in an attempt to disprove such theories. Would you then vote to mandate vaccinations, knowing that you can end up oppressing yourself? Is it just to do so?
Like I said, if it maximizes utility, I would say yes, because the safety of society in regards to mandating a vaccine should come before the unhappiness of a minority.
But what if you were in this minority? How would you feel then?
Well, I suppose... This is obvious. If you let each person choose whether they want a vaccine, you are putting the safety of the majority of people at risk. Say there are 5,000 people in this group. I'd rather force them to act against their stupid beliefs than risk killing the rest of the nation. It's not that hard to understand.
Okay, Jeremy. I understand that you got a language. Let's calm down. As I stated earlier, the language in the mandate section allows for exemptions from the mandate for specific reasons.
Exemptions?
We should remove the mandate, allowing everyone who disagrees with vaccines to opt out of getting them. But to do so, we must be certain that those who want to get them are able to.
I'm not sure that I understand.
Okay. Currently, there is a mandate at Radnor High School. It does provide for those who disagree with vaccines, allowing them to opt out.
We've already covered this.
Jeremy, let the man speak.
Thank you. Because of this requirement, however, not all people who would like to opt out of vaccinations are able to.
So what happens if you remove the mandate?
This would allow everyone to decide whether or not they want to get one. Not just for medical reason, religious beliefs, or philosophical, strong moral, or ethical convictions, as the handbook reads. A strict mandate lacks freedom of choice and is therefore inherently unfair. Alternatively, a loose mandate is like a half-closed dam. Not all the water can get through.
For example, what about the people who previously couldn't afford the vaccine?
Well, obviously, we'd make them work for it through manual labor that would benefit the whole of society. Well, so now let's examine Radnor High School as a whole. If, say, a student decides not to receive a vaccine because he is able to out of concern for fairness, the school could potentially have an outbreak and everyone could die. Now, using the calculus for morality, I would argue that the personal freedoms of one don't outweigh the pain of everyone. What would personal liberties do for dead people?
Now, Jeremy, that seems to be insinuating heteronomy.
I'm only perpetrating common sense through survival. For you, Emmanuel, say a student wishes to receive a vaccination to protect himself, not the public. Should that student be given his vaccination, or does the social worker giving him the vaccination have the right to refuse the child's service?
The student should not be given his vaccination.
Really?
If the social worker gives him the vaccine, the social worker is using him as a means to protect the public and is not respecting him as a being with a rational capacity.
But the people would still be protected regardless of the social worker's motives.
I'm going to have to stop you there. We've argued this before and gotten nowhere. So now let's instead discuss one reason that some people feel obligated to get a vaccine: reciprocity.
I'm confused. What do you mean?
If you haven't gotten a vaccine, and most people you know have, you may feel as if you are required to get one because you owe it to them.
Well, like with Kant, the result is the same. Everyone gets a vaccine, and therefore utility is maximized.
Like with Kant, that's not what I was getting at. If someone acts out of reciprocity because they feel they owe someone, they are not acting on their own accord. However, for a contract, in this case a signature to receive a vaccine, to have moral weight, it must realize the ideals of both reciprocity, which is acting because you feel you owe someone, and autonomy, which is acting on your own accord.
I think you found a paradox.
Alright, we're out of time. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Come back next episode for part 2 when we resolve this incomprehensible paradox.